Welcome back, everybody. Today we have a cuckoo clock that should only need cleaned and or blown out, I guess we'll say, and oiled. And this one here, Jim had a chain that came off, and so while we have it out, we're going to put the chain back on, even though it's easy enough to put it back on with it still in the box. But this clock is 4 years old, and so all it should need is just maybe blown out and oiled. So let's take a look at this beautiful clock. So here's the clock. You can tell it's a newer clock because it's got the finish on here that gives it its shine. Let's get a quick measurement of this just for a reference. Without the topper, we're at 15.5 inches tall. It's got the wood hands. It's got a night shutoff that you'd pull or push to get it to shut off. Here they took the chains and they put it in a baggie, which is nice. When I get ready to box this up, I'll show you how you protect your chains here. Actually, they have a zip tie in here holding the chain, which is a good idea too. I usually use pipe cleaners. It says up, so I'll show you inside where the mechanism is to show you whether up is turning the music off at night or what. Here they did put a paper towel where the gong is so it doesn't make noise while it's being shipped. Now this is an 8-day clock. They used painter's tape on the bellows, which I guess is okay because the blue painter's tape doesn't hold as strongly. Let's see here. Let's see what we got. So to operate the people, you see the gears in there. And of course we got a lot of plastic. This here's a plastic one too. So let's first get into this by taking off the chains and seeing what does still work on this thing. So normally I don't like to use tape on a clock. This one has a finish, so it's not so bad, but usually tape will take your finish off or take the stain off. Like I say, this one does have a finish on it. So the musical part is what the chain fell off on. Let me put that on real quick so we can listen to what this thing sounds like. So the chain for the music box is what fell off, and this one you can't turn with your fingers because it has a cover over it. So what you do is you put a long screwdriver or a skewer and try turning it. And right now it's turning around this way. So we'll drop the chain down. So you don't want to drop it down too far. I don't want to pull too hard, but I got it caught. Now dropping down the next hole, I'll bring the screwdriver down and start turning it for what is revealed to me. So the chain is coming. The thing is, it's falling into the movement. So I got it away from the movement. Now I'll catch my little screwdriver in the chain and finish pulling it down. Like I said, that was kind of a difficult job to get that because of the cover over it. And there's wound back up again. So the music should possibly play because it's pulling out. Let me turn the hand because it's ready to cuckoo. So I was able to turn this gear here because it's acting like it was stuck. Might not have ran for a while, I'm not sure. And this here didn't trigger. That's alright. Let's turn the hand again. Now the music should play as needed, because I think it was shut off. And you notice this pulled out of the hole, so the music should play. So pay attention to this wire here, because that wire, once this starts cuckooing, should drop down in front of the fan. Now we don't have any weight. Well, right now it did drop in front of the fan. Now let me turn the hand. There's the half hour, and it didn't trigger the music box. There, the music box lever has been triggered, as you saw it pull out of the barrel. And I saw two holes here right across from each other, so that means this should have two tunes. So let's get started on taking this out so we can clean it, blow it off, oil it, whatever. So take the nut off first. And it's got this washer on there. It's got your, this here is supposed to grab onto the center of that hand, but it wasn't. And that's why you can snug down the nut to make it operate the hand. The hour hand is just sitting there wedged, so you just twist it off. Now we come to the Cuckoo bird, and hopefully I won't be in the way, but the Cuckoo bird has this wire that we need to open up, and we'll see how strong it is. My fingers don't want to get in there. Let me get my pliers and lift it up. And then we should be able to push it out. Now it's free. We need to take the ends of the chains off so you can pull this movement out. If you're just cleaning or blowing it out and oiling it, if you get your clock to run so both ends are together, you don't have to take your chains off. I hold on to it, move that chain out of the way so you can hold on to the bottom of it, and I just turn this and it takes it off. Then you have a link here you can take out. And it'll probably get caught in there because I don't have the clock setting up. Yep, it just caught. So I'm planning on trying to leave this one on so I can bring it halfway. So we have a hook here and a ring on this one that we need to take off still. So in this gear here, it says off with the arrow pointing here. The control switch, which is this wire that goes through the box, if you pull it down, this here drops down. You push it up, or push the rod up, this pops back up and is connecting to the, well, it's still connected to the gear, but this should go clear to the front and push a pin so it doesn't want to operate. But to get this wire off, we need to undo the nut that goes to holding the movement together, but it's only going to be one nut. We'll take that off, and that way we disconnect the rod, don't have to worry about any special bending. What I'd like to do is take the music box off because everything on the inside's in the way. We have 4 screws here I need to get out to release the music box. This is the last screw. And believe it or not, they glued the music box in, besides the screws. I use a putty knife that's flat on this end, and this end's got a little bit of a bevel. Start in the corner and work it in. So there's your music box. So this has got more to it than what I was expecting. That should pop right off. But it must be underneath here, which you need to take that wheel off. This here might be a clock that just your normal person that has one clock might be more than they can handle on dealing with all these little things you got to take off. So we have an E-clip on here. Usually there's a little hole that you can grab into. There it goes. So here I've got an E-clip and a washer, and then inside there is a spring that's held down. Well, I guess we can go to plan B, C, D, whatever. Let's go ahead and take this off so it's out of our way. We'll disconnect the bellows. Pay attention to your wires. Because possibly one's going to be longer than the other one. Sometimes they're the same size. And pay attention to which bellow goes to which arm down here. So the front bellow will take the shorter wire. It does good to take pictures as you're going so you understand where all the stuff goes back. Maybe take a video on what you're doing. So I think I can, with the bellows still in here, with my screwdriver out of there, so you can't get that apart, I'm going to go ahead and unscrew the 4 screws that hold the movement in. And let's see, I'm going to have to unscrew. There's a bracket back here that stabilizes this because of the 8-day wait, I'm sure. So let's see how far we can get there doing that. And like I say, this is still in the way, so I'm not positive. Maybe I can angle it so I can see just how that thing works, is working, holding on, or whatever. Okay, this had 2 screws up at the top right down here, and then the 2 I just talked about in front of this, on above this here. So that's because of the 8-day system. You want to try to be careful not to be bending these wires. These here go to the music box, and you'll have to, which shouldn't be hard as long as you don't disconnect them from anything, shouldn't be hard to re-bend them back if you did start to bend them. Had to take it off. So the reason why this plastic gear won't come off is it's hitting this shaft here. We're not going to worry about taking it off because we got it out, and this is mainly because this wire here that goes to the outside of the clock is what was holding it up. So that'll be easy enough to get it all back together, I'm hoping, because it's out of the box and not fighting everything else. So as you can see, a plastic covers over this. So that's why it's a little more difficult, I guess, to put it on, but it is doable. And each one of these actually has a plastic cover over them. So looking at this, it's very clean. There's no dust on it. It says 34K, and the K would be the date, a date code for this clock. I'm not going to look it up because I'm not too concerned. They already know it's 4 years old at least, and it could have been on the shelf for a year or two. It's hard telling. It's not that important because this isn't vintage. It's just a nice clock. So let me go ahead and oil all the pivots. Dump the oil and give it time to suck it back up. We're not going to oil this one because this here is just a lever that rocks back and forth. Same with this one. I'd like to get behind this one. I'm not sure if I can get to it or not. Coming to this side, you end up with all of your levers in the way. So you have to kind of pay attention as you go. And try to look underneath to see if there's something hidden that you got to move a lever over, if it's movable, to be able to oil it. This goes round and round, so you want to reach in there, put a drop of oil down there. And just because I see a little bit of dust, I'm going to give it a quick blowout. When I don't have my compressor handy, I get this from Walmart. It's just a air that you spray on your keyboard to get your potato chips out of there, or whatever dust or crumbs are in there. That's where most of the dust was sitting. That's the thing about cuckoo clocks. They're considered a dirty clock because this is wide open to the air so they can move in and out. Every time the bird goes in and out, that's another path for dust to come in. And all of your chains that come up through and your pendulum, that's pulling the chains is possibly dragging dust up. Especially if you got pets, you might get pet hair coming up in here. So that's why it depends on your home how often you should tear your clock apart like this and blow it out and then re-oil it. So we got the whole thing oiled. I'm going to go ahead and put this back together again. Means how there's nothing we can do with it, or we don't really have to because we got the clock out. Let me set it down on the desk so I can do it better. And I'm going to do it off camera because my fingers are going to be in the way. A washer goes on next and then the E-clip. So when you trigger this lever up or down, it comes through. There's a right here. Let me get my pointer. This here disc pushes on this here, which causes this to raise or drop down, and that pulls it away from, there's the hurricane star that's in here. It pulls it away from that so it won't trigger the cuckoo, because if you can kill the cuckoo, then the music will never play because it has to play the cuckoo first. So to get our chains on again, this one's winding this way, so this side's the side that we need to start the chain in. So it's hooked. Wind it a little bit. And then keep winding it. Until the chain comes out. Do it a 50-50 split. And be careful it doesn't fall off. So we have that one on, and now we have to get our next one on. If you had your chains already down, the weights were down halfway, so the two ends, let's say, met, you shouldn't have to take the chains off. If you have to take the chains off all the way, then what you need to do is take both the hook and the stop off and re-thread it through here, and then you can bring it through the box, because, and that's including if you're trying to hook it on with it still in the box, because the ends will be backwards, I guess we'll put it that way, installing it in the clock for the way it winds up. So this is winding around that away. And by the way, I do believe these covers that are over here, they're meant to hold the chain on, so I don't know for sure why the chain came off on them before. So sticking the hour or the hand stem through there, we're going to go ahead and put these through the hole. And if you have a magnet, and if these aren't solid brass, which these are solid brass, so the magnet's not going to help. So you just have to stuff it into the hole. And this one's a little more difficult again because it's got a black pulley in here. To move the chain over far enough that the let's move the chain over far enough so that the way that the weights aren't hitting each other. So while we're in here, let me get my screws out of here that I have to put the movement back in with. We got them all in. I got the music or the Cuckoo door open. Let's slide this back in. So to install the music box, when you pull on the chain, you see how the people just flip around. That's because the music box is what is holding them from doing that. So the only thing you got to worry about, and you can see the peg is popped out of the hole, so you have to turn this until it's done playing, and then not touch this lever to pop out of the hole again. So that way I know this clock is going to start playing where it's supposed to play. So there, we're done. Actually, I'm going to put a drop of oil right there on that on the shaft on this bushing. That's all it is, just a bushing, and it does go round and round. I'd like to put a drop there. And when it comes to these, they're so small that I'm going to use a toothpick, dip it in the oil, and touch it, because my oiler would be too strong to try to oil that. But you oil only things that go round and round again. So I'll do that off camera. Use a toothpick. You notice on here it's got a plastic tube, and that's so when the fan comes around, it hits it and doesn't make as much of a noise. So watch when it goes in there. So this arm pulls this hose shaft, and then that there quietly goes up against the governor to keep it from playing forever, and also a quiet stop onto the governor. So I put the night shutoff wire back on, and I didn't put it in right because this needs to be down under here. We're going to take this off again. I know this is in the way, but I think there's a cam underneath here, because you'll notice this says off, and right here there's an arrow, and I kind of suspicion, because I don't have anything about this clock, that this might have an automatic shut off for the nighttime feature, I guess is the way I'll put it. And so this arrow needs to line up with this arrow at, let's say, possibly 10 o'clock. So I can't get that off. I can lift up just so high. We're going to try that, taking that off, and see if I can get this under. Otherwise, I'll have to take this nut off and then angle this in and under in order to get that. This here gear that's got a spring on it, there it's coming up. So coming up would make this thing shut off and drop down when it's supposed to turn on, or vice versa. Anyway, let me first take that nut off and see if I can move that cam, is what I'm going to call it, underneath this gear. I took the nut off and I couldn't get it, so I'm going to take this music box out, and I'm going to remove the movement again in order to do it easily as I can. So I'll get back at you after I get this music box out and get the movement out. Like I was telling you, there's a cam underneath here that this will ride on, and I do believe we'll be shutting it off. So let me get this back off again, and then we'll take a look at it. I lift this up, now I can slide this down. It's got a ball bearing on this that just clicked into that hole there. And you can see this fork here, that's what's supposed to go in here to manually shut it off, and you move this arm up and down. So let me get that nut back on, and we're going to hold off on this so I can see when this thing shuts off on hour-wise. Even though they're showing there's an arrow there that I can line that up with that, but that doesn't mean I know exactly where the hour is it needs to shut off. So right here is a cam underneath here that's pushing on this lever, and when it pushes on that lever it makes it so the clock won't cuckoo. So that's why I say it's between that specific time that it will not cuckoo. It'll be kind of like an automatic night shut off, to where the one with the wire, you can pop that in there and it'll keep it quiet all the time. So I need to set this up time wise to maybe not go off, and I have to see how many hours it is to possibly have this shut off, let's say at 10 o'clock at night until maybe 6 in the morning. I'll let you know after I get that figured out time wise. I guess I'll let you look as I turn this hand too, because it's just about to trigger off of it. Watch that go down off that cam. Right there. So, we don't have the spring on here, but it would drop down like that now. This cam, I never removed it, so it's right where it's always been. But I see it 6:30 will be the half-hour cuckoo, and then it counts at 7 o'clock. It'll do in the morning. 7 o'clock is when it actually starts striking the full hour. And so when this clock is set up on the wall, it's kind of like a 24-hour clock. You need to know whether it's AM or PM when you turn your hands around for whatever time it is, in order for that to shut off automatically at night. It's because of that cam that's underneath here, which right there is the arrow, and the cam is all on this side. Another little E-clip. I forgot to put all this back together while I had the movement out, so I did it in here. I will admit, the E-clip popped and flew off to no man's land, and believe it or not, I was able to find it in no man's land, and I got her back on there. So now we need to hook up the bellows to our lift wires here, the lift arms, and get our cuckoo bird back into place again with the door. So I got my lift arms on. The very front bellow and the very front bellow is hooked to the back wire, the lift arm, and this bellow is hooked to the one further out. Because I pulled the music box and this is triggered, it's up out of the hole, so before I install it, I need to have this go around until it shuts off to make sure it's ready for the next time it's supposed to play. It's ready to be installed. And here it didn't pop out of the hole, so I got to pay attention to this, make sure it's moving like it's supposed to. So let me turn the hand again. Oh. So when it cuckoos, it's not dropping down all the way up here. This here is not dropping all the way down onto here to trigger this. So you can loosen the screw on here, or you can bend this wire going across just a little bit. And I pull out of the hole, and I don't want to do that. I want it to do that. Okay, let me pull on the... See, it's not quite lifting up high enough for that to work. Get it back in its hole. There, it pulled it out of the hole. Let me pop it back in again. There's no weights on here, so that's why it didn't move. See how it pulled out of the hole? And now the music is ready to play. This is now in the way. Because we pulled the music box, that's why and we pulled the movement, things have moved, and that's why you need to test each thing as you bring it in. We want to make sure it stops. So that stopped. I'm thinking this might not be down far enough. What made it stop this time was this here. It's got a peg with the rubber on it, and it goes in front of the fan. This here is supposed to be down far enough that when it triggers, it's going to catch it. So let me turn the hands. I just turned it, it went into warning. This dropped a little bit, so I don't doubt this wire here's in the way of that fan once it starts cuckooing and releases to the warning part. So that cuckooed, that pulled out of the hole. And it looks like it's okay. Let's try this again. It went in warning, the fan hit our wire. And I'm lightly pulling on that chain too, so we're triggering everything, I guess. So everything seems to be working good. Now let's get the cuckoo bird hooked up and see about the hands as well. He's not moving up and down as much as I like. Look at the wire here in the back. And I'm going to bend it up just a little bit and see how that works out. He's still not cuckooing or moving up and down like I'd like. And move the wire closer to the door, I guess is the way I'll put it. And then maybe he'll Cuckoo better, or move better. That wire just slides this way, so he's not. The way they have it set up, he doesn't move that much. But he does go in and out. Right now I'm turning the minute hand with the nut to find out where exactly or what time it is and where I need to put the minute hand so it's pointing towards the 12. So I have to turn it carefully and slow. So it is 12 o'clock, so let me put the hands on and see how good I did. So the hour hand is just pressed on, a friction fit, or however you'd like to call it. Then our minute hand, and you say this square hole in the center has this ridge, and that's where you're supposed to get that square in there. That's where you're supposed to get this to set up against it, and then you'd tighten down your nut and hold it in place. This one here, like I say, it had this domed washer on there. Then you got your decorative nut that goes on there. And I'm just trying to get this started before I start worrying about where that minute hand is, because my fingers are too big to hold it. So I'm going to try to get it centered on that washer at the square hole. I got off a little bit, but let's just see. Pull on the Cuckoo bird side. Looks like I'm a little ahead. So it's going off a few minutes before it's supposed to, so let me loosen that up and move it. So that's not bad. And yeah, the Cuckoo bellow sounds funny because I have it angled like this instead of straight like this, so they can close all the way. So I think the next thing we can do, put the back on and make sure our hammer is hitting right. Of course, the groove in the board has to fit. Has to fit in that groove there. Pulling the chain again, get this thing to Cuckoo and see how it sounds. That sounded terrible. So because this has a hole in here, I can adjust the gong by moving it down a little bit, because right now it's making a terrible thud. If you only have to move it a little bit, it's fine to, let's say, bend the wire by pulling it down. I don't know if I did any good or not. That sounds terrible still. That sounds better. Let's make it do it on its own and see what it sounds like. Much better. So now I guess what's left is to get our wire put on that goes from this here, goes through, and it's what operates or holds on to the pendulum. And don't forget to squish it closed so it doesn't fall off. It's ready for the pendulum. And before we put the pendulum on, we want to hang it on the wall, because it's usually easier to hang this on the wall without everything clanging on here, the weights and everything else. When they wrapped this clock up, they did a very good job at it, and when they put the weights in, they distribute them around the box. That's what you want. You don't want all the weights piled at one side, because you want it to be easy for the guy that's going to be delivering the clock not to fumble the clock and drop it. Anyway, the weights don't need to be marked. Here it says this is a 1260 or something like that. Normally nowadays all the weights will be marked the same, so it doesn't matter where you put this on the clock. And I'll check the other ones too just to make sure. This one was marked right. I do believe that's a 1260 it says. Anyway, on a Cuckoo clock, unless it's really old, the very old ones, sometimes they put the heavier weight on the music side and a lighter weight on the time side, and people got confused with that, so that's why they just made it straight across the board all the same weight that went to that clock. Now on your grandfather clock, grandmother clock, those type of clocks, yes, it matters. The heaviest weight goes on the music side, and you'll see the people on the bottom will have a piece of tape that says center, right, left, whatever, so they can make sure to get it on right. Unless you happen to have a scale, you can weigh each one of them and get the music side with the heavier weight on the grandfather clock. But a Cuckoo clock, it doesn't matter. So it works good. Don't forget to level your clock one way or another so you have an even tick, and it should run just fine, especially now that it's been serviced. And don't forget to have your clock serviced every 5 to 7 years, depending on the climate you're living in, whether it's dusty, animals, whatever, a road out front that might be gravel. That's what kind of determines how often you should service your clock. It's a beautiful clock. This is the first one that I've had that has the automatic night shut off. And so, like I say, that's new to me. Glad to have done it. So now I got another one in my book. It's always a learning experience. Anyway, don't forget to subscribe because it's free. And until next time, God bless.